I have never in my life stopped watching a reaction video in the middle, but if she keeps this up, listen, we're gonna have a talk about these puns. We're gonna have to have a talk, man. All right, we're gonna react to Zepla's new video, Important Blue Quest to Unlock in Final Fantasy XIV. Let's do it. Let's see if it's good.
Buns, so if you are new to Final
She called you Buns, chat.
Hey Buns, so if you are new to Final Fantasy XIV, you might be drowning in blue unlock quests, and the game doesn't tell you which ones are really important and which ones you could easily put off till later. So today,
I think that'd probably be a good design change for Yoshi P. Maybe they need like a super blue quest, like something like challenge log. We were just talking about challenge log in chat. Make challenge log like a super blue thing that's like very important, and then you got something that will unlock. Or like something that has like a little dungeon icon that unlocks a dungeon. Or, well, not necessarily make them tiers, but maybe just show what type of thing it is. Is it cosmetic? Is it content? Or is it some kind of a log?
Today, we're going to go through level by level using this FFXIV Gamer Escape article as a reference. And this link to this article will be in the description box down below. I'm going to just tell you which ones that, if I were you, which ones I would do now as I was leveling, what I would put off, what I think you might be actively screwing up your playthrough by not unlocking.
Oh, let me just make a disclaimer here as well. From my perspective, I think you can get through your first character without doing any unlocks, any of the blue unlocks. It's just pretty much put that out there right now. I think you can get through the entire first character without doing any of these. That's my opinion.
Remember, many blue unlock quests are gated behind main story progression. So if you're at the right level,
you don't need a mount to get to any of your first character. You can just walk everywhere
for something, but you don't see it, check your main story quest level, because you need not only your character to be the right level, but your main story quest needs to be at that level, or at least maybe beyond it. I will not mention things that you automatically unlock just from doing the main story quest or your class and job quest, because that is your top priority, and I'm just going to assume that you are doing that stuff first and getting all of the unlocks that you get naturally just from going through the story, doing your class and job quests. For side features that I choose to skip, I'll explain at the end of each expansion's section why I consider those features optional and why I think it's fine to just put them off until you're max level or whenever you feel like it. That does include all of the crafting and gathering content, because I mean, you can always get your hand jobs later. Again, please refer back to this FFXIV Gamer Escape article for the quest unlock info.
It's a family-friendly stream. What is she talking about?
The purpose of this video today is not to just give you all of the information about all of the quests and stuff, because that's here on Gamer Escape. I'm here to show you which quests are important and which ones you can put off till later. At level 10, you can unlock the other classes that you had seen at character creation. That does include Rogue, which turns into Ninja later, so I guess it's easy to miss.
I thought that was automatic. I thought it's actually been that long. I actually thought the level 10 change class thing was automatic. It's wow. Okay. It's a side quest.
The challenge log is super important. Do not miss this, because not unlocking it is like flushing XP down the toilet. Like, it is a weekly log that gives you big XP just for doing stuff you'd probably do anyway, like doing dungeons, giving commendations to other players, things like that. At level 15, you can also unlock glamours, dyes.
All right, talking about the challenge log, it used to be mandatory. And I was talking to my chat about this a few minutes ago. How before they revamped the 2.x story and MSQ, you were constantly gated by levels. So the MSQ said you had to be level 7 to do something, and you were level 5. You had to wait till you get to level 7 to do that thing. So we learned early on that you had to like go out and do your hunting log, and you had to do your challenge log and all these other things to actually get that content. Today the MSQ is very streamlined. You rarely get level locked. I think at most you might have 2, maybe 3 if you're I don't even think 3. I think around level 4 you get level locked, and around 47 it's possible to get level locked, and then you go do one other thing, and then you're not level locked anymore. So the challenge log used to be pretty much required. You had to do it. You absolutely had to do the challenge log. And you definitely should do it, because not only do you get XP for your main job, but when you go back again and do alt jobs, it's going to be a good source of XP, not only for your disciples of the, of magic and war, but for your hand and land stuff. So you want the challenge log. It's just free XP. She's right about that.
And the esthetician, obviously these are not required, but it's stuff that I would personally consider to be urgent. And the NPC who does the dye and glamour unlocks is right next to the Waking Sands, where you're going to be returning anyway.
Just to give you some kind of a sense of the difficulty of the glamours, they're so stupid easy. She's like, I think one of them is like she wants a glass of orange juice, and there's a vendor right next to her that sells orange juice. You buy the orange juice, you give her the orange juice, you're done. It's really easy. These take seconds to do. So if you're like, well, I can't be bothered with glamours, I'm just going to wait until I get the max level before I glamour. Just do it. Just do it. You're going to get some really ugly gear leveling up. You're going to look like a puke chicken leveling up. So you're going to want to glam. And glamour crystals are a lot easier to get now than they were before.
A lot. So, I mean, it's on the way. No, frankly, nobody needs good glamour more than she does.
You're going to look like that. You don't want to look like that.
And the esthetician is, of course, the barber to change your hair's cut. If you have a hair. Level 17.
So the esthetician, the haircut thing, I would put that off. You don't have to do that. I'm not saying she's wrong. I just... Because that involves you going to Limsa, and I think it's like maybe 3 or 4 steps. It's a little bit of work. So it's not really quick, but just to change your hairstyle, unless you really messed up your hairstyle, you just got to change it. I would put that off.
Retainer access, super important because this is your bank and it is the way you put things up for sale on the market board for other players to buy. Though if you
Dude, I'm having a brain fart here. Retainer is optional. I thought this stuff was just included in the MSQ. I didn't know it was a side quest. Man, it's been that long. Okay, so retainers are very important. Very important. Let me tell you, because let me let her finish.
Are on the free trial, you cannot hire a retainer. Also at level 17, the retainer.
So retainers are your bank. You will fill up your inventory very fast just by killing things, and you're not going to know what to sell. You're not going to know where to put it. You're like, is this valuable? I don't know. I'm just going to keep it. Retainers give you extra storage. That in itself is motivation to do that, because you're going to need extra storage, right? And then she's going to talk about ventures now.
Ventures, these are little missions you can send your retainers out on to get them to level up. It can take a while for them to level up, so might as well get started on that. Palace of the Dead.
This is a good way to make money passively. I do it all the time. I think when I'm streaming, I always say I need to reset my retainers. I need to reset my retainers. What you do is you just send them out on an exploration trip, and it takes an hour. And they come back with something, and then you can sell it or break it down or do whatever you want with it. It's essentially free gil. And all it requires you to do is go to your retainer and say, give me what you found, go out and get something else. And it costs a currency called a venture token, which you can use seals, Grand Company seals, to buy to get those. So it's actually free money. But again, on your first character, unless you're just teleporting like a mad lad, which I have done before, unless you're teleporting everywhere or you're just spending money on stuff you shouldn't be spending on, if you're buying vendor gear on the market, please don't buy vendor gear on the market. You're generally not going to need a lot of money when you're leveling up your first job to 50. You're not going to need a lot of money. The money's going to come from the quest, and that should fund all your teleports and stuff you have to do. But if you find yourself broke, these will be a source of income.
Dead. Now, this is the deep dungeon that people often go to level alt jobs in, especially under level 40. Your first goal here will be getting through the first 50 floors. There's a story that goes along with it, and I suggest grabbing like 3 friends for it. You can also solo it, but
Palace of the Dead, again, on your first playthrough, and I'm assuming, like when I see this video, I'm assuming this is for new players. So on your first playthrough of your first job, Palace of the Dead, you don't have to do it. Because you're not going to be starving for XP at all. They throw gargantuan amounts of XP at you just by doing the MSQ. So you're not going to need Palace of the Dead for that. And Palace of the Dead, let's be frank, is just it's a way to farm XP for most everybody. Now, it's very challenging to do solo runs up to like level 200, and there's like rewards and mounts and stuff that are in there that are cool to get. But at the end of the day, people use Palace of the Dead to level up, and level up alts is the main way.
It's not for the faint of heart. I will drop a link in the description box down below to a guide that I always use for Palace of the Dead. But once you've cleared the first 50 floors, you will then be able to queue for floors 51 through 60 at the NPC with a matched party. And that's usually what people...
So, WoW players, does the word Torghast mean anything? This is essentially Final Fantasy's version of Torghast. And I've heard people joke that it's actually good. Having never done Torghast, I'll just chuckle and pretend like that's funny.
People spam to level alt jobs. At level 20, you get your first mount. Finally, this is right after you pick your grand company through the main story quest. And the company seals that you need to buy your Chocobo issuance quest item to get the mount will be given to you by, I think, the next main story quest. You really don't want to forget this unlock, because if you do, you'll be out of cluck. At level 29, there is a quest that will allow you to go out the back gate of Gridania. So
okay, now that I'm over that out of cluck pun, the mount is very important. You're gonna want that. You're definitely gonna want the mount. It's gonna save you hours and hours and hours if you don't get it.
I mean, it takes 5 seconds.
Versus if you don't get it.
Do it. It is Final Fantasy, so you have to throw wide the gate. You'll get it later. At level 30, you can and should unlock PvP, but you cannot PvP if you are on the free trial. That said, PvP gives a really good XP.
You wanna know something funny? Is that I don't even remember unlocking White Wolf Gate access. I might not even have it unlocked. Back to the video.
Especially the daily frontline roulette. But I would say go to the Wolf's Den first and set up your bars before you queue in, because you'll be in for a rude surprise when you queue into the match and your bars are completely borked and unrecognizable. It'll be like a PV UI. Rather.
Okay, so let me just talk about PvP for a second, because people are like, oh, I thought Final Fantasy PvP was bad. Everybody told me not to do. Listen, Final Fantasy PvP is fine. It's not terrible. It's just that it doesn't do it. It's not the best feature of the game. The best features of the game are all PvE. It does PvP, it works, you can smack people's faces, you get stuff for it, you get gear, you get mounts, all that works. The thing is that most people who play Final Fantasy play it for PvE. So what you'll find is that the PvP is fine, but nobody's queuing for it. Everybody's doing other stuff because the other stuff is better. But let me tell you, the PvP itself, once you do it, you're probably gonna say, well, that actually wasn't that bad. What do people complain about? It's not terrible. It's just not the best. Okay, it is very mediocre. It is lukewarm, like lukewarm water temperature type of stuff. It is not awesome, but it's worth doing.
Quick shout out to the PvP Revival Discord, by the way. If you're wanting to do more PvP, they have plenty of events happening all the time. At level 30, you also unlock cockfighting. I mean, yeah, you get your Chocobo to fight alongside you. And, I mean, depending on how bad you are at the game, it could be really, really...
I mean, I do call my Chocobo a chicken, so I guess that joke is warranted.
...helpful. Like, I definitely needed it a lot while leveling Paladin. Level 35, the Sunken Temple of Karn dungeon access, and you can't pass that up.
Listen, I have never in my life stopped watching a reaction video in the middle, but if she keeps this up, listen... We're gonna have a talk about these puns. We're gonna have to have a talk, man.
We'll typically recommend that you unlock these side dungeons that become available as you were leveling, because they are there to help you with XP. Level 38.
Okay, so dungeons. Let's talk about dungeons. Eventually you're gonna have to do this. So I think it's kind of up to the player. If you feel like you want to rush and get to level 50 and finish the story, you can bypass some of these, but to get full access to like the, duty finders, some of the duty finder stuff that you want to do with roulettes, you're going to have to go back and unlock and do these anyway. And they're good dungeons. They're actually, Cutter Scribe, Karn, and all these other ones, they're actually good dungeons. So they're not boring. So they're worth doing. But if you find yourself, man, I want to get to Heavensward. You don't have to do these. immediately, but you're probably gonna have to go back and do them later anyway.
Cutter's Cry dungeon access, level 44, Zepla Darkhold dungeon access. There's 2 ways to unlock it, either from Fart of Fear or Shadows Uncast.
Wait a minute.
Level 46.
Okay. Comedy is all about delivery. She just casually said Fart of Fear. I actually chuckled because that flowed well. I don't know if she meant to say that or she wanted to say Fart of Fear, but she said Fart of Fear. And it's funny.
7, the Arum Vale dungeon, which Final Fantasy XIV official Twitter says is a great dungeon.
I second that notion. I think Arum Vale is the best dungeon in the video game. Arum Vale has atmosphere, has a variety of mobs. It has mechanics that you'll have to learn. It'll teach you how to read your debuff bar. And it'll teach you how to communicate with your team. It'll teach healers how to heal. It'll teach tanks. It'll teach black mages and other people that sit in one spot that they might have to move at least once. It is a great teacher dungeon. Okay. It also teaches you that you don't have to kill everything in the dungeon. All you WoW players and refugees coming from WoW, you probably have been conditioned that you need to kill everything in the dungeon. Let me help you out. You don't have to kill everything in the dungeon. You get a ton of XP just for completing a dungeon. You get dungeon completed bonus, which is a lot. So when you do Arum Vale, remember that you don't have to pull everything.
They wouldn't lie to you. At level 47, you also unlock the Adventurer Squadrons. I love this feature because these are a team of AI bots that will pretty much carry you through Realm Reborn dungeons. And
this is where I disagree with her. Squadrons to me, and I still haven't finished them, were a giant, colossal waste of time. The primary reason why I did Squadrons was I think I wanted an emote. And the AI in Squadrons versus Trust, which is a system that's going to come later, spoilers, Squadrons are just awful. Don't bother. This is where I'm gonna have to disagree. Don't bother unlocking Squadrons. Just don't.
You can level them up so they become very strong, and they don't care if you just sit on your butt and do nothing while they do all the hard work of clearing the dungeon for you. But do not take them through hard mode dungeons. Don't do that. You do need 2nd lieutenant rank in your grand company to unlock the Adventurer Squadron. So I'll put a link in the description box down below that explains how to rank up in your grand company if you don't know. Level 50. So first off, at level 50, know that if you own the Stormblood expansion, you can already go and unlock Samurai and Red Mage. And also I would suggest unlocking the Hunt at your grand company because well, it's a big game feature. Keep in mind that Realm Reborn Hunt Mark bills do not grant XP, but starting in Heavensward and beyond, you will get XP for the Hunt Mark bills, but you need to have unlocked the Realm Reborn Hunts before you can unlock the future expansion hunts, okay? At level 50, you may notice that there is a buttload of side content now unlockable. This is can be very stressful, but just know that you can safely skip most of it for now. All you actually need is the hard mode versions of Ifrit, Titan, and Garuda Trials. Earth, Wind, and Fire.
To get the Heavensward, right?
And you also need the Crystal Tower.
Yeah, this is all you need to get the Heavensward.
Do that, and you are good to go straight on to Heavensward. I will show on the screen for.
So I guess that comes down to the player. Like, if you're playing this game, are you trying to rush through to get 80 and get to MSQ, get through MSQ, or do you want to experience the game at your own pace? I imagine right now, most players are trying to get to 80 before Endwalker to get through Shadowbringers. I think that's going to be a motivating factor for a lot of people so they can take part in that juicy day one Endwalker access. So I would say to those players, I would just do the minimum. I would do the hard modes and I would do the Crystal Tower, get through Heavensward, get through Stormblood, and get through Shadowbringers. then once you're done with Shadowbringers and all the patch content, you're probably going to have time to do a lot of stuff. And going back and doing those dungeons, after you've learned the game, after you've learned all the mechanics, I think you'll have a different perspective on dungeons, and you'll probably do a lot better than if you did it when you first level up. But with all that being said, if you prefer to have challenging content as you're going, you can do those min-eye level and experience them the way we did on day one, and have some challenging content very early. Certain streamer out there said they're going to do Coils of Bahamut and do all the extreme trials and all the stuff at minimum eye level. And I'm just nodding my head going, okay, be prepared.
A minute though, all of the side dungeons, trials, and raids that are able to be unlocked by level 50. So it's just a bit easier to make sense of all of it. And like I said, you can do all this whenever, so don't be overwhelmed by this list. But I personally would recommend Lost City of Amdapor dungeon.
Oh, Amdapor is a great soundtrack.
Dungeon. I really love those. Also, do not do the trial Earth's Fount or any extreme trials in the Duty Finder. Use Party Finder for that. And also, do not attempt the Binding Coils of Bahamut in the Duty Finder. It is extreme.
All right, this is an opinionated thing because generally public parties don't do very well with difficult content in this video game or in gaming in general. So I think what she's echoing is that Party Finder is much better suited for harder content because the people there, especially if they list it, they're trying to learn to fight. When you're in Duty Finder, you queue with randoms, and I'm pretty sure people who are playing the game now, coming from other games or even just brand new, they're probably going to queue for coils, and it's going to be a 5-hour queue, and they're going to be wondering why nobody's queuing for it. It's because generally that's the culture in Final Fantasy XIV. Even though the game allows you to do a public queue or a public Duty Finder for this content, most people hit Control P, go to Party Finder, and look for groups doing a certain dungeon, and they join those groups that way. And she's absolutely right. It's probably best use of your time if you do that rather than queuing up.
Extremely hard. If you I don't think you'll even get a queue for it. It is worth doing Binding Coils unsynced with some friends, maybe, just so you can see the cutscenes, because it's a very important story.
By the way, if you want to see the voice cutscenes, you can go to my YouTube channel at youtube.com/Bwana. In my Realm Reborn video, I actually put the Coils cutscenes at the very end.
And one more thing that is definitely optional, but it would be a crime for me to not tell you to at least get started on, is the Hildebrand quest. I mean, not quite mandatory, but... All
right, this dude right here, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Like, you see that thing that says subathon? I did all of his quests that were available at the time during a single subathon. My gut was sore from laughing. It is by far the best side quest I've ever done in an MMO. It is pure slapstick, unadulterated, stupid comedy. It's hilariously dumb and is so side and so off away from the main story. It's almost like a vacation. Like, you got primals, you've got the beastmen, you've got the nations, you've got the dragons, you've got the plight of Heidelin versus this, and then you got this guy, and you got freaking Daffy Duck. And it's a great departure from the seriousness of the main story. It is pure slapstick comedy hilariousness. And you will chuckle at least once. I guarantee it. If you don't, do it.
Worth doing. They're fun. Now, before I actually move on to the Heavensward section, I want to go over some of the features that I skipped on our way up to level 50 and why. If you don't care, feel free to just go on, use the video chapters, and skip to the next section. So
There's
the
chapters?
level 10 Guildhest unlock. Now, I skipped this because the buff to Realm Reborn XP makes these alternate sources of XP less important than they may have once been.
Agreed.
Also,
Yep.
how good a Guildhest XP is super conditional. Like, it is great for the first time completion bonus if you're around the same level of the Guildhest. Beyond that, it's kind of crap XP. And so maybe for alt jobs, but then you actually need to unlock leave quests first before you can unlock guild Hess. And leave quests are another thing I skipped because while they're great for leveling crafters and gatherers, the XP is not super good for battle jobs and now, again, not super necessary with a buff to main story XP gain.
Yeah, so that's a great point because before they changed the quest, this was our source of XP because there was gaps. So we would do the main story quest and then we would find out that we're 2 levels behind before we could do the next story quest. So the game's design back then was that we had to go off to the side, do these guild Hess, do these leave quests, do all these other things to get XP, make sure that you do the challenge log, do fates. Let me tell you about fates. We did a ton of fates back in the day to make up. There were fate groups going, and actually it was oddly fun. I miss them, but there were fate groups always going around doing fates because people needed XP to get to their next main story quest. So the main story quest has been since redesigned a few patches ago to streamline it to where all you have to do is play the game like a single player game and you don't have to worry about that.
So it's all a bit of a hassle, and while maybe I would unlock guild Hess for all jobs, I'm not gonna tell people it's a rush to get that done. All the housing area unlocks I'm skipping because they're really unnecessary and buying a house is expensive, time consuming.
Housing savage.
Emotes and minions, obviously not urgent. Level 15, gold saucer unlock. This is just a side content mini game area. Fun, but again, not urgent.
I'm going to disagree with that slightly. If you're leveling DPS, unlock gold saucer. You're going to need something to do while you're waiting in queue. Because throughout the story, you got a queue for dungeons and they're not instant. Unlock gold saucer. You'll thank me.
I guess it does kind of fall similarly in the category of Hildebrand, but I didn't want to get carried away with like, oh, this is fun, so you should do it. We're trying to keep this as concise as possible. All materia unlock quests. Materia is not important at low levels. Sightseeing log, optional, but doesn't give XP or anything. Treasure hunting, fun but not urgent. Definitely can do that later. Realm Reborn Beast Tribes, that's the Sylphs, the Sahagin, and the Amalja Beast Tribes.
Oh, gosh.
Also Ixal, but that's crafting, so we're skipping that.
All right, Bwana. Here's some Bwana lore from you guys. You want to know why Bwana doesn't do any Beast Tribe quests anymore? Because he was forced to do the Sahagin and the Sylph quests in 2.0. And he absolutely hated it. So as a result, even though the quests have been changed and they're much better for the new zones for Beast Tribe quests, Bwana still doesn't do them because he has been mentally scarred by these freaking Sylph quests and these freaking Sahagin quests.
Skip those because the XP for these Beast Tribes is not very good, and the quests might be easier after you get flying in Realm Reborn. Anyway, the Realm Reborn Relic is just for glamour, and it is a highly tedious process that is best done at max level. I also skipped over the Blue Mage job that you can unlock when you're level 50 as long as you finish the Ultimate Weapon main story quest. That's because Blue Mage is entirely side content and not a real job.
Blue Mage is OP and fun. You want to eventually do it at some point. But for your first playthrough, your first job, going to 80, it's completely optional. But when you do stuff like, I'll give you like a personal story. I'm grinding my relics right now in the end game. And let me tell you, when you have to do fates, having the OP Blue Mage in your group and doing them as Blue Mage speeds up the process just a tad. Just a little bit.
Heavensward. So, at level 50, when the main story takes you to the Heavensward City, you can then unlock the Heavensward jobs, Astrologian, Machinist, and Dark Knight. Then at level 51, there's a new dungeon, side dungeon, the Dusk Vigil. Also at level 51, you can unlock flying in the Kurthus Western Highlands Heavensward Zone, though unlike in Realm Reborn, where you got flying just from doing the main story quest, from now on, you will now need to get ether currents to unlock flying in a zone. Each zone has 15 ether currents that you need. 1 comes from the main story quest, 4 come from blue unlock quests in the zone, sometimes like a peripheral zone to it, like a hub.
Yeah.
And there are 10 ether currents you need to hunt down and click on to unlock flying in the zone.
I think this was the first time that I really paid attention to the blue unlock quests. And I think it might have been introduced. I think the blue icon maybe got introduced in Heavensward, but I may be wrong about that. But Aether Currents were something that were very important because flying had just got released in Heavensward. And like she said, you know, the flying in the in the ARR 2.0 zones was kind of retrofitted, and they just gave it to you for finishing the story. That wasn't there back then. There was no flying. And when you got the Heavensward, flying was a big, big boost in your time to complete stuff, because the zones, listen, I don't know if it's a psychological thing they did or what, but the zones were so annoying to walk around on ground. Like, to get from point A to point B, they'd have this winding thing. You can see the Aether current. You'd be like, how do I get up there? Well, you got to wait until you can go around the other side to get, it was maddening to run around on the ground. So unlocking flying saves you so much time. And even though it's annoying, it is definitely worth the time to put in to get those Aether currents. So this is where you really, really, really start to pay attention to the blue quests. You want, like, I would click on every blue icon and see if they had the little Aether current icon on it. Right? I'll click on every blue quest, and if it had the little Aether current icon as a reward, I would do it. If I didn't see that, I would move on.
You can check your progress on this in the travel menu under Aether currents anytime. And as a reminder, make sure that you are caught up through the appropriate level of your main story quest. So for Kurthus Western, make sure you're caught up through level 51 in the main story. At level 53, you can unlock your daily hunts for Heavensward. These are the ones that start giving you the extra daily XP if you do them. Level 53, Dravanian Forelands.
I don't think you need to do hunts, like, at all. Especially during your first job. It's the way they've changed the game now. Hunts have lost their value quite a bit, and I don't think you should worry about it. You can go back and do them, but initially, I don't think you need to do them.
Flying. Yes, we want that. Level 55, Churning Mist flying. Level 56, the rank 2, Heavensward Hunts. Level 57, Sea of Clouds flying. Yes, we want that. Level 59, we have 2 more zones we can get flying in, Dravanian Hinterlands.
So she's just highlighting all the areas where you have to get the Aether currents now.
At level 60, you can unlock the Elite Weekly Hunts for Heavensward, and you can also
I see that Elite and Dangerous, and I just can't help but think about that Star Citizen game.
Unlock Wondrous Tales, which I strongly recommend. Doing it gives a ton of XP.
Okay.
If you own Shadowbringers, you
I recommend Wondrous Tales to people all the time, right? If you don't know what Wondrous Tales is, it's side content that rewards you for doing... It was a way to encourage veteran players to go back and do older content, in addition to, like, roulettes. So it's like a journal bingo book. So if you do, like, Alexander Dungeons in Heavensward, you get, like, a stamp on that. And if you form a straight line, you get some kind of reward. Now, while I recommend that people pick up the Wondrous Tales and do it, you can get it in Adelshire. I'm so bad at keeping up with it. Like, I always get a new Wondrous Tale diary, and I start doing it, and I always forget. Because, especially now, the game... I think one of the initial reasons why people did it was for the stupid amount of XP you get. But... I think some of the rewards are like tomestones and some other things and achievements and stuff. So it's like I think over time, just those rewards you get from Wondrous Tales lose their value unless you really go hard on it. Now, I may be wrong about that, but I recommend you get into it. You'll probably be much better than me because I listen. Reset happens like Tuesday or something. By Thursday, I forgot I got to do Wondrous Tales. I just forget. I don't know why.
You can unlock a Dancer and Gunbreaker as soon as you reach level 60. And just like with Realm Reborn, when you hit level 60 and you finish your Heavensward story, you're going to be flooded with a ton of blue unlock quests yet again.
Dancer and Gunbreaker are both A++++ classes / jobs. And I level Gunbreaker through Shadowbringers just all throughout the content, and I absolutely adored it. I'm learning Dancer now. I leveled it to 80, but I didn't know what I was doing, but I'm learning it. They're both really good. So don't just skip over them. You might want to consider, leveling those jobs soon.
Again, but good news, you can safely ignore them and move right on to Stormblood. As before, I will show you a list of all the side dungeons, trials, and raids that you could unlock at 60, at your leisure. Personally, I would suggest the Warring Triad. That's the 3 bosses with the Containment Bay names before moving on to Stormblood, because it's not required, but it's pretty sweet.
That brings
For
back
dungeons,
memories.
I love Lost City of Amdapor, so I also, of course, like the hard version. Side note, hard versions are not hard. I don't know why they're called that.
Me neither. Why do they call them hard? They're just alternate fights. They're not more difficult at all. In some cases, they're easier.
It's different. It's a different layout. Could also recommend Fractal Continuum because it has a really nice soundtrack. Like before with Realm Reborn, I'll now mention stuff that I skipped on our way to level 60. Heavensward Beast Tribes XP rewards are still not the best, but they're cool. So I hope you will do these Beast Tribes later. That's the Vath, the Vanu, and Moogle, but Moogles are crafters. The Heavensward Relic path. Now that's the anima weapons. They are for glamour and really best done at max level.
Some of the best looking relics for some classes are in Heavensward. So this, I would classify this as something you would go back to, because they look really good. I still haven't seen a better paladin relic than the anima one.
There's more Sightseeing Log, more Hildebrand, all optional stuff, and a Stone Sky Sea. That is for checking DPS, but you should not be worried about that while leveling. All right, Stormblood. So the first major unlock I would point out is a Stormblood 1-star hunts access.
I'm curious why she's telling people to do hunts. Like, I don't understand the rationale. She may have said it, but I didn't see it. I don't know why you would want to tell people to do hunts. I don't think they offer very much, especially for new players. It's just... Because you like I said, like we've been talking about, the XP is not a problem really anymore. So I don't know.
Then level 63, we have 2-star hunts access. Have it on high, very similar to Palace of the Dead, only for level 61 plus. Here, people tend to spam floors 21 through 30 in a matched party for XP when leveling alt jobs.
And again, this is something that you would want to consider after you finish everything, when you're doing alt jobs. Or if you want to take a break, like if you're in MSQ and you're like, oh man, I really like Dancer and I'm level 66 on my main class, but I want to level Dancer to catch up with it because I want to do some of the main story content on my Dancer. You may want to grind a little Heaven on High to get a few levels to do that. But Heaven on High is basically Palace of the Dead, but for higher levels. That's a simple way of putting it.
Flying in Yansha. Level 66, Azim Step flying. And level 66 is also the 3-star hunt. You can upgrade your hunts there. Level 67, Fringes flying. Yes, obviously, you need to fly. Level 69.
All right, little sidebar with the chat. I'm aware of what hunts give you, but why would they be? You don't need that stuff. You don't need tombstones when you're leveling up. You don't need minions and orchestration and armor when you're leveling up. Like, these are optional things that she says are like must-haves that you should do. You can always come back to that, right? Like, again, I'm assuming this is like somebody's first time going through the game. First time going through the MSQ. I don't think you need to do hunts at all. Like, you don't ever need gil. You don't ever need XP. I mean, there was a time when you did, but not anymore. So I really don't understand why you don't need tombstones, because you're going to get them anyway. So I don't know. I don't see the need for it to be like a must-have. Especially when you're going through, like, for lower level content, all you need are poetics. And the game pukes poetics at you for just existing. Like, you can cap poetics in a day and a half just by doing normal stuff. So it's like, I don't think you really need to do that. Like, if you go through your dailies and do that, you're going to get enough poetics to get a fully geared set by the time you hit 60 or 70. So I don't see why that's an important thing to do. The name of the video is Important Blue Unlock Quests. I don't think hunts are important at all.
The peaks flying. Yeah, you'll be flying over the peaks, all right. Never mind. So level 70 is the locks flying. And Stormblood Elite hunts access.
I don't
As
get it.
before, with reaching the level
I don't get why you're doing hunts. I just don't get it.
Story, you are once again faced with a plethora of unlocks for side
Like for real, if
dungeons.
you're, I'm not trying to ding her or anything or say she's wrong or something, but if you're a new player, you can be perfectly fine without ever touching hunts, going through the entire game and hit 80. If you don't even know what a hunt is, you'll be fine.
Trials and raids. But as before, you do not have to do any of this now. You are safe to move right along to Shadowbringers and do the side stuff when you feel like it. But for me, what stands out here, if you're just looking for suggestions, is the Ivolus raid storyline. It's required for your Shadowbringers relic weapon if you plan on doing that. And maybe the Omega
You can wait on that.
raids, a normal mode just for the story. The writer for Shadowbringers, who's also doing the main writing for Endwalker, suggested that you do Omega for Endwalker, so I'm just throwing that out there. On our way to level 70, I skipped the housing unlock for Kugane, the residential district, because trying to get a house will sidetrack you massively. I would recommend actually waiting till Endwalker when the Ishgard housing district comes out, because I think that will make a lot of new housing plots available. The minion and emote unlocks are, of course, not urgent.
About that.
The Stormblood Beast Tribe quest I skipped because they're still not giving great XP here. That is Ananta, Kojin, and Namazu, with Namazu being for crafters and gatherers, though I know I'm skipping all the crafter and gatherer stuff in this video, but Namazu quests are really funny.
Ishgardian Restoration has obsoleted just about every other form of XP for crafting and gathering. And I say that in the most loving way possible. You don't need anything else but Ishgardian Restoration. Like, these dailies will give you a ton of XP. They'll help. You get some cool mounts and some stuff from these beast tribes. But Ishgardian Restoration just destroys everything. You can get the max level crafting and gathering in no time just doing Ishgardian Restoration. So keep that in mind. If you want to eventually craft and gather, and you're considering doing Beast Tribe side quests to get that glorious XP, because it is good XP, you don't have to.
Like, if you decide to do crafting later, definitely don't miss the Namazu quest. One last thing that I skipped over was the Eureka unlock that you get at level 70. This is a series of 4 different instanced zones that—
Wait, is she suggesting Eureka? Wait a minute, let me rewind.
Namazu quest. One last thing that I skipped over was the Eureka unlock that you get at level 70. This is a series of 4 different instanced zones that are involved in the acquisition of the Stormblood relic weapon, and it's also how you get your diable job gear from Stormblood. Although this is fun and I love the Baldessian Arsenal raid, it is definitely side content that you can do after you
And nobody's doing it now.
Okay, so
nobody's doing Eureka, everybody's doing Baja.
Level 70. Now it is the time to start grabbing nutsacks. Yes. You'll see what I mean when you go and unlock the base hunts for Shadowbringers. Level 72, you can get flying in Lakeland. Level 73, we have Ilmeg flying. Yes, very important. Plus the 2-nut hunts. I'm still hunting for my 2-nuts, actually.
I mean, when I was 12, that was funny. But come on, man, this is... that's not, come on, stop. Just stop it.
At this point, we have been skipping the Beast Tribe quest, but you do not want to skip Pixies because they give insanely good XP. Definitely worth. Level 75, Raktika Greatwood Flying. And level 76, 3-nut hunts. Unlocked by my favorite quest name in the game. How do you like 3 nuts?
I think that's why she's talking about hunts, just so she can make some nut jokes. Because again, I keep circling back to that because she's highlighting every tier of hunts, and I don't see any benefit of doing those as being important. I really don't, especially since mount. I used to do hunts for mount speed, right? And ever since they put those under the Moogle events, you don't even need to do that anymore. Because you can get them, you can get the maps from the Moogle events if you need them. So, and there's probably other ways of getting them too. So I don't know.
Level 77, Amarang Flying. And level 79, Kalusha Flying. Level 80, the Tempest flying. Look, if you know someone that has a multi-seater mount that can just take you to the ether currents, you're gonna have a better time. And a
I normally would be against that, but some of those aether currents, just hopping on somebody's mount and they take you right to them feels really good, because otherwise you have to take a really obscure route to get to them, especially at that 70 to 80. There's some really obscure routes, but they're fun to find. If you're into exploring, if you like that kind of stuff, then do it. But don't feel bad if somebody walks up in their Final Fantasy 15 car, or their fat with the fat Moogle mount, or the whale mount, or any multi-seater, the multi-seat chocobo mount. If they walk up to you and be like, "Hey, you want to ride?" Say yes, especially if you're annoyed.
level 80, also Elite Hunt access. Also here you can unlock Stone Sky Sea. That is a way to sort of figure out what your DPS is kind of like. Helpful, since there is no other way to check. I don't know of any other way to check that. I don't know. For Shadowbringers, there are...
That's a parser joke, chat. She's talking about ACT.
There are 2 side dungeons that you should absolutely do right away, because they are freaking amazing. The Twinning and Academia Igniter. Do not even hesitate to go do those ASAP.
Gotta agree, they're worth doing just for the music. Like, the Twinning is a banging remix, and Academia Igniter is like you're at a jazz concert all of a sudden. It's amazing.
There's also the Eden 8-man raid series that you can do. And,
which I still haven't finished.
The Mirror 24-man Alliance raid series, the Sorrow of Weirlit trial series.
I have no motivation to finish Eden. I don't know why.
And the Bajan Southern Front stuff, which is... The Bajan Southern Front stuff is all related to you getting your relic weapon for Shadowbringers. So, yeah, there's a...
Okay. Going back to Baja, do it and get rich. Because the stuff you get from there sells really, really well on the market board, and you will have hundreds of millions of gil before you know it. Do it.
A lot here once again, but now that you're max level, you can just freely pick any of this at whatever you want to dive into first. I would suggest maybe start with Sorrow of Weirlit, those trial bosses, because the story is really good. As for stuff I think it's safe to put off on your way to level 80, well, obviously I skipped to the other beast tribes because they're for crafting and gathering, and I put all the crafting and gathering off. You can do that at max level, of course. Emotes and sightseeing log, I skipped it though. Do get around to the great stuff.
Listen, the Lolly Ho emote, I still don't have it, and I'm kind of sad I didn't get it. Lolly Ho is arguably the best emote in Shadowbringers, and I need to just take time out and do it.
To unlock, because it would be wrong to skip it. Great Serpent is beloved by the community, so that's why I suggest do that. And oh, and get your Lolly Ho emote.
Best emote.
Then I guess you're just going to be catching up on all the stuff that you put off up to this point. I think you're going to be very busy for a while. Buns, I hope this video was helpful for you. I decided to not overwhelm you even more with a ton of quest unlock info in this video. I just wanted to direct you to this article so that you can check the quest requirements there.
I mean, I agree with most of her choices except for the hunts, and also I probably wouldn't have highlighted all of the flying quests. I think that she was just kind of circling back to her original point that they're required, but I think a majority of this video was here selecting hunts, and selecting the flying area quests. Just as a general rule of thumb, you're going to want to check every blue unlock quest post Heavensward and see if you can get an Aether Current from it. You're going to want to do that, just globally. From 60 all the way to 80, you're going to want to check every blue quest to see if it has Aether Current. Other than that, just do MSQ and then come back and you can do a lot of this stuff.
I want to clutter the screen too much. I didn't want.
Of course, you want the mount, chocobo, and that stuff.
To like overwhelm you with information. Just wanted to, in the most concise way I could, try to show you which things are important and which things you can actually skip. If you like this video or you found it helpful, please consider supporting the channel on Patreon or on Twitch. I will put the link in the show description, and also if you guys want to check out her other videos, we've already reacted to. Not just how to make guild. We reacted to why's now the best time to
to play Final Fantasy, and I'll put that video up if you want to watch my reaction to her other videos. But go check her out. Definitely go support your Final Fantasy 14 creators. Like I said, I agree with a lot of what she said, but there was just a couple of minor things. I just didn't see the motivation behind it. And given that this is all about optional content, there's no wrong or right answer. You just do what you want to do. Play how you want to play. All right. Thanks for watching.